If you watched my previous videos, you'll know that over time I've been modifying and improving various elements of my oak and mahogany lugger, including the running rigging. When I bought the boat, it was rigged with a downhaul and halyard, which both ran back to a couple of belay pins. In an earlier video, I covered why and how I added a yard parrel line, but I had nowhere to tie it off, so I've been sailing with the yard parrel line and halyard doubled up on the same belay pin. Today I added a third belay pin. Now I have somewhere to tie off the parrel line. In this video I'm going to cover making and fixing brass rubbing strakes to the oak coaming and belay pin rack. The downhaul, yard parrel and halyard run over the oiled oak coaming and belay pin rack, which will cause wear and tear over time, so I'm going to protect the oak by adding a few pieces of brass rubbing strake. I noticed that brass rubbing strakes on the coaming was specified in the original boat plans, but they were never added during the build. My plan is to add short 20cm sections of brass to each side of the coaming and 30cm sections to the angled top and bottom edges of the belay pin rack. I ordered some 10mm wide half-round brass rubbing band and cut it down to the size required. I wanted to soften the ends by rounding them off and use some 10mm sticky dots as a template. Once I'd filed each end to a nice curved profile, I rounded off the top surface. To get a smooth finish, I started sanding with 120 grit wet and dry, using progressively finer papers until I finished off polishing with 3000 grit. The screw holes were drilled using 3 different bits, one for pilot, one for main hole, and one for countersinking. I bought raised head silicone bronze screws to fix the brass because they have good corrosion resistance and work well aesthetically. Unlike flat-headed screws, raised heads have soft edges, so are unlikely to cause rope chafing. The coaming and belay pin rack are oiled with Orotrol's Dex Ollier D1. For a bit of extra protection against the elements, I put a little Ollier D1 into the screw holes with one of those small interdental brushes. To prevent water getting into the screw holes, I'd normally bed the brass strips with some 4000 UV, a flexible, semi-permanent sealant that can easily be removed if I need to replace any of the brass rubbing strakes in the future. But it was too cold to use 4000 UV on the day I fitted the brass. I'll remove the screws and bed the rubbing strakes when it's a bit warmer. Brass rubbing strakes provide a simple yet effective method for protecting heavy use areas of a boat from wear and tear. They also look pretty cool. That's a wrap. See you next time.